So another talk, another day. Sometimes I feel like I'm a talk machine and just wind you up. And I did suggest, because I do go to many places and have to give talks on the same things again and again and again, that it'd be much easier to go to a company like Madame Tussauds and getting a doll made of me. And you can just put in the CDs and just get the mouth to move. But apparently they did do that in Japan. This is a true story. Because in Japan, they prefer Christian marriages, but always Buddhist funerals. I think they just like the white dress and stuff and the organ music, but funerals is always done for Buddhists, Buddhist way. And they had a very hard time in Japan finding Buddhist monks to come to all these funerals. There's only a certain number of monks and lots of people. They all wanted Buddhist funerals. So one company, they did get this robot monk. You know, they got a nice head. It looked like a sort of, proper person and a robe on underneath. And done by electricity. And just so when they start the funeral, they literally turn him on. And he does this perfect chanting. No coughing, no mistakes, really beautiful every time, which they really love. And you don't have to give any donations, you just know the cost of electricity, that's what it costs, which is pretty cheap. And the nicest little touch this company provides this service is at the end of the service, the monk, it's a robot monk, actually levitates. And then there's a trap door in the ceiling apparently, and all this dry ice and clouds come up, and the monk disappears through the trap door in the ceiling. It's really, really cool. So we can do that for the next retreat. Just get the robot monk, and after the talks, just put a ceiling up here, and that would be really impressive. Or instead, like similar to a thing I suggested at real crematoriums, you can have a button by your seat. And if it's a very good talk, you can do it for going up. And if it really is a bad talk, go down and burn the thing. So anyway, just have a bit of fun and games. And so hopefully you get the idea in this meditation. A bit of playfulness is very important in meditation. Just to give yourself a happy mind. Because without that happy mind, you find it so difficult to meditate. Which is one of the reasons I was encouraging, actually, Venerable Loka yesterday, to really get the mind going very, very, very strong. Please develop happiness, things like inspiration. Because every now and again, maybe more sort of, a few times, but sometimes you come out with a very inspiring talk. And if it really is an inspiring talk, you find it so easy to meditate afterwards. You get inspired, happy, joy. It makes it sound so easy. And then you can have great meditations. And this is really important to remember. So you can, if there's not an inspiring talk on offer, in the afternoon, you've been going a long time, see if you can inspire yourself. Because that inspiration is a great boost to the meditation. You can just look at the floor here, and that was made by monks at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You can see this whole place here, just done all by donations. It's inspiring to see what people can do when they work together. You can just look at all the people, who are helping out on this retreat, people like Dania or Bianca. And just it's inspiring just what people can do. And so get that inspiration and just take it inside of yourself and say, wow, it really is a good world when there's good people like that around. And here I am enjoying this beautiful jhana grove. This is brilliant. And don't just push those inspirations aside. Really develop them, indulge in them, really get into it. Just like the way that many people get into negativity. I'm terrible, I'm hopeless, this place sucks, everything sucks, the whole world is terrible. You can get into that okay, but that's really negative, and you really sort of get into very depressive states. So instead, develop the ability to really dwell upon anything which is inspiring and uplifting and beautiful. And not just that, on your own good karma. It's called, one of the meditations, Chaganusati, the reflection of your past generosity, Silanusati, the reflection of your past good virtues. So you look at all the wonderful things you have done. And don't say you haven't done any good things. You've done heaps and heaps and heaps of good things. But what you do, you reflect on that. You indulge in it. You dwell upon it. And what it does, it gives you a huge boost of positive energy, which means the meditation, it starts off and it really gets deep very quickly because you've energized it from the very, very beginning. And I use that very, very often when I go traveling. You know, sometimes when you go traveling, the aircraft is delayed, so you arrive at some place late. You don't sleep well at night. You're given a new place to stay. First night is always very difficult, and sometimes the place they give you to stay. I've had some doozy of places. Once I was in Singapore, and they put me in this room above a karaoke bar, which didn't stop till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And they expected me to give a talk the next day. Oh, come on. So you do get into situations like that when you travel around the place. And so what I do, you've got to give a talk, and some of the talks I give, there's 3,000-4,000 people come in big auditoriums, and they just come just to listen to you. They've come all this way, and you're exhausted, you're wasted, how the hell can you give a talk? So what I do is I reflect on all the good karma I've done the last few days, all the people I've helped, all the sort of wonderful generosity which I've given for my energy, all the interviews, all the talks, all the hard work we've done for others. And when I start thinking like that, I inspire myself. There's nothing wrong with inspiring yourself from all of your goodness. The trouble is that we've been told ever since we were young, no, don't remember all the good stuff you've done. Just remember all the bad stuff you've done. And we get negative and we get depressed when we remember all the bad stuff we've done. No, the bad stuff we've done, that gets let go of. That is the shit. When we wipe our bum, we don't keep the toilet paper in our pocket afterwards. That stuff we throw away. We keep the good stuff. Now, I'm coarse about this, but that's what it's like, isn't it? All the terrible stuff you've done, you put in your pocket, and it stinks, and it's dirty. No wonder you get infected and sick and all sorts of stuff with depression and guilt and anger and all this sorts of stuff. So no, keep the beautiful stuff. And so don't just keep it, indulge in it, really get into it. What a wonderful thing you have done. What great good karma you have made, given a huge donation to the nuns' monastery. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. No, one person did that yesterday. Think about that. Think about it. And when you really think about it, you think, wow, this is really good energy. This is amazing. And you get into these really powerful meditations. So that's what I've done. Many times you're absolutely exhausted. 20 minutes time you've got to give a talk to a few thousand people. I just quiet place somewhere, sit down, and watching the breath I'd fall asleep. So instead I say, what have I just done? What have I done today? What have I done the last week? And straight away, really get into it, contemplate it. You need some thinking, but it's directed thinking. It's not thinking going all over the place. It's thinking which is focused on one thing. And when you start to focus on it, the energy just builds and builds and builds and builds. Your back straightens up, the mind has happiness, and with the happiness you get energy, and then you get really nice meditations, really sweet ones, because you're using your good karma, which you've got heaps of, by remembering it. I often tell people that everyone has got a huge bank account of bad karma. And a huge bank account of good karma. But we always tend to sort of draw from the bad karma account. And the good karma account is just left untouched. And the reason is because we've forgotten our PIN number. We just can't get at it. And this is the PIN number. Just remembering it, reflecting on it, getting into it. And as you reflect on all your good karma, you get inspired. In Buddhism, just to show you I don't make these things up, it's called Attaveda Dhammaveda. You reflect on the Dhamma, reflect on the consequences of these things, reflect on your good karma. You do that, and it gives you this joy. They call it pamuja in Pali. And they have this beautiful sequence. Once you get that joy coming up, the pamuja, then the whole path of meditation just happens. You get happiness, and happiness you get tranquility. Tranquility you get this sukha. From sukha you get the stillness of the mind. The jhanas. From jhanas you see things as they truly are. When you see things as they truly are, you get fully enlightened. All coming just from developing some inspiration at the very beginning of your meditation. So, remember your good karma and spend a lot of time every day, especially in the afternoon when you get a bit dull. Don't just go around having cups of tea and sleeping. Oh God, another few hours until sort of, tea time, another couple of hours before joke time at sort of after the evening chanting. So how am I going to... No, just go there and inspire yourself. And if you do want to read a book, or read some interesting book, or listen to a Dhamma talk, get your favourite, the greatest hits compilation, and just listen to it. And sometimes it really does inspire you. And when you get inspired, straight away, any negativity disappears, and you get into deep meditation very easy. One other little trick which I developed, and which is really powerful, it works every time. When you're sitting down, you're a bit dull, nothing is really working. How can you inspire yourself? Recall the most peaceful and inspiring time in your life so far. It's not that hard. The time when you got into the deepest of meditations, or when you felt so content. It may have been in some mountain retreat, or maybe when you were a kid. You walked off somewhere by some lake and you sat down and everything was totally perfect. You didn't want to be anywhere else in the whole world at that time. Just there in that place. Now when you start to remember the most peaceful, inspiring situation you've ever been in your whole life so far, then start to fill in the details. Where exactly was it? Was it the summertime, the wintertime, the spring? What was around there? Was there grass? Were there trees, mountains? What time of the day was it? What time of the year? Was there anyone else around? Because every time you fill in the details, you are reinforcing that memory of peace, stillness and contentment of the most wonderful time of your life so far. And you spend 3 or 4 minutes building up the details, because as you're building up the details, you are again reinforcing that same peace, contentment, inner happiness, which you felt so many years ago. And then after 3 or 4 minutes of contemplation of the most peaceful and spiritual high of your life so far, then you let the memory go, and you find what's left is an echo of that peace. Not 100%, but 30, 40, 50%. You can feel that peace again. And now you start meditating. And you're way ahead. You have peace in your heart. And the mind recognizes that, and it builds on that and gets a very, very lovely meditation. So these are little tricks of how to start your meditation by developing some inspiration or some happiness. And of course, if you are dull, sometimes at this stage of the retreat, the dullness is just boredom. You've slept enough, but sometimes doing the same thing again and again and again. What do? We watch our leg go up, leg go down, we're walking. Whoa, done this for days and days, and a few days left yet. Just sitting on this same old seat. It gets a bit boring sometimes, so you have to swap things around. Sit on another seat, not the one you've got there. Swap it around. If you really want to have fun, sit on this seat. Change it around, sit the other way around. Sit backwards. Face a wall. And that's exactly, when you mess it around a bit and do things a bit eccentric, because maybe it's because I'm English, because English, we're very, very respectful of eccentricity. I still know about this one guy. He actually sleeps on the roof of his house in England. Now, even in the wintertime, it's snowing, it's raining, he sleeps on the roof of his house, and he's perfectly healthy, one of the happiest men. No, the doctor looks at him, he's just perfect health, he's going to live to 100. Because eccentric people are always healthy. And they're so happy. So you be eccentric. So turn around and sit the other way. Or when you do the walking meditation, come on, be honest, how many of you have followed my advice and done the Australian walking meditation? The kangaroos. And jump, 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 jump. How many of you done that? One! Congratulations. Now I want all of you to try that sometime today, especially if you are tired. And if you are not tired, it will make other people in the room burst out laughing. What a wonderful gift. So kangaroo, pause like this, jump, 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 mindfully jump that is, don't unmindfully, until you reach the head of the wall. Turn around and mindfully jump back. See what you're doing here? You're making it fun. It gives you energy. And that energy makes the meditation really bright. Instead of just doing things in the same old boring way. And because of that, I've taught a few people in the interview period, if you are watching your breathing, sometimes that gets a bit boring after a while. Watching the breath go in, the breath going out. If you start getting deep in meditation, you get this happiness up, that's fine. But just to make it more interesting at this time of the retreat, you can use what I invented, the backwards breath meditation. Now, no other master since the time of the Buddha has figured out and revealed the backwards breath meditation. So this is a very wonderful time in the Buddhist teaching dispensation after 2,500 years. The backwards breath meditation is finally revealed to the world. So the backwards breath meditation. So you're going to have to contribute here. You're not going to just sit and listen. Now when I say go, close your eyes, breathe in and out 3 times, and then open your eyes after 3 breaths. So go. When you finish your 3rd breath, open your eyes. Now, when you were doing that little exercise, I can guarantee 100% you breathed in first of all. In, out, in, out, in, out. That's ordinary breath meditation. Now I want you to do the same exercise, but when I say go, close your eyes and breathe out first, and then in. Out, in, for the 3 times. Are you ready? Go. That is called backwards breath meditation. Breathing out first and then in. And it is different. Logically, you'd think it's precisely the same, but it is very different when you do the backwards breath meditation. So if you're getting bored by doing the ordinary meditation, do backwards breath meditation. Breathe out first and then in. Breathe out and then in. Do it a slightly different way. And then you find with that innovation, you're not just becoming a creature of habit. Because when you become a creature of habit, you lose your mindfulness. The brain is very efficient. If it's something it doesn't need to pay attention to, it won't. Which is why if you keep doing things the same old way, the mindfulness just gets dull and it turns off. So you have to do things differently. Even when you're eating your food. If you want to be more mindful, sort of eat the food the other way round. Have your sweet first, and then the main course. Or you can, I don't know what else you can do, you can eat with the other hand. Or try with chopstick, whatever it is. Do things differently from time to time. Even when you first get up in the morning, I hope you brush your teeth. Where do you start brushing your teeth from? Is it always the same place, the top left or the middle? Or be mindful where you brush your teeth in the morning. And tomorrow morning, brush your teeth starting somewhere else. Start a different place every morning. I call that living on the wild side. When you do brush your teeth at different places, it means you have to be awake. Do it in the old way. You can just fall half asleep when you're brushing your teeth. You don't know what you're doing because it's always the same. But if you do things slightly differently, you find you are awake. It takes more effort. It takes more mindfulness, which means that you are generating much more energy in your retreat. So don't, for goodness sake, become a creature of habit in this life. Always do things differently. Every day, if you possibly can. And these little things make you more awake. And when you put more energy into the little things in life, you don't get so dull. So when you're meditating, it's very easy. Inspiration gives you energy. Doing things a little bit different gives you energy. Playing around, doing stupid things like kangaroo meditation gives you gives you more energy. Holding the teddy bear, gives you a bit more energy. So those are little things which you introduce because they do overcome some of the defilements, and so you can get into this beautiful happy state. And when that happy state becomes there, I try my best by making you laugh and doing stupid sadhus and stupid jokes and all this other stuff. I know they're stupid jokes, but amazing. Doesn't matter how bad the joke is, people still laugh. And they laugh because it's so bad. And that just creates a little bit of happiness for people. And that's all you need just to get the mind into some joyful and peaceful meditation. Without happiness, there is no stillness. Now that is one of the great teachings of the Buddha. I picked it up when I started reading those teachings of the Buddha. It's called Sukhino Cittang Samadhiyati. It's said many, many times, from happiness, the mind becomes still. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Very simple one-liner, but it really is important. That is why we're doing so many things to try and make it a happy retreat. Simple things like having delicious food, allowing you to sleep, having cups of tea, just always be bubbly and try and be as fun as I possibly can, because that will allow the stillness to happen. Those of you who go on serious retreats, when you're not allowed to smile, and if you smile, you're put down into the dungeon of the retreat. Those sorts of retreats, you never get into deep states of stillness. I was very relieved to see monks like Ajahn Brahm just being a lot of fun, always happy, smiling, laughing, to see that just these monks were happy, and to get that connection between the happiness and the stillness of meditation. So life can be very depressing, and you've come here with all sorts of problems in your life, and you tell me about all those sorts of problems, and but look, there are problems in life, but there's also a lot of fun in life, and on this retreat, start to focus on the fun. Look for the beautiful bricks in the wall, not just always the two bad ones. Look for the goodness in your life, not all the things which have gone wrong. Develop that perception of beauty, happiness, fun in your life and where you are. Make yourself inspired, with things like reflecting on all of your past generosity and all of your goodness, the kindness, the wonderful things you have done. Those sorts of stories really create so much happiness. I told recently a famous story which every time I tell it gives me a lot of inspiration, about the the young student in New York many years ago. And he was a med student, And he came from a poor family, so he had to get jobs during the vacations just to pay for his living expenses, just like I did when I was a student. Father had already died. My mother was just a simple secretary living in a government-assisted apartment, council flat. So there's no way I could ask her for any money, so I had to look after myself, getting all sorts of odd jobs. And this guy was getting one of the worst jobs, a door-to-door salesman. And he was selling these, I don't know what he was selling, knickknacks from door to door. And apparently, late in the afternoon, he knocked on one woman's house and said, "Do you want to buy whatever it was?" And she said, "No, thank you," and was about to shut the door, but then just asked him, he said, "Young man, have you had anything to eat today yet?" He said, "No, I haven't had any lunch yet." And it was late in the afternoon. So she said, "Wait a moment." And she went into her kitchen and just brought out a glass of milk and 2 cookies. And have these. And it was just a nice, kind act. She didn't want to buy anything, but at least she had enough concern for this young man that she just got a simple thing like 2 cookies and a glass of milk. Thank you. And he always remembered that kindness. Many, many years, 25 or so years later, he was qualified as a doctor. He had specialized in surgery, especially cancer, and now he was a specialist and quite well known. And some of his friends referred a case to him which no one else wanted to touch. An elderly woman had an inoperable cancer. They thought it was inoperable. And he had a look at it, and he decided he's going to take it on. And he didn't just take on this case. He gave it everything he got, all he'd ever learned. And he brought in some of his friends, called in favors of other doctors from throughout the United States, and threw everything he knew at this problem, and managed, against all expectations, to bring this woman into remission. And he could tell her the news that she could expect to live many, many more years. The cancer had been beaten. And she was very, very overjoyed until the time came when she got her bill. Because these medical expenses in the United States are huge. They're not tens of thousands, they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when she opened the bill from the hospital, she cried when she read on that bill, "Paid 25 years ago with a glass of milk and 2 cookies." It was the same woman. He got this referral. The name rang a bell. He did a little bit of research. That woman had not moved from that address. It was her. A woman who just didn't want to buy anything, but was kind enough to give him a glass of milk and 2 cookies. Something he never forgot. And now it was payback time. When he found out that was a lady, he just gave everything he had. Every knowledge, every favor, and of course, it worked. And when it came down to the bill, he paid it himself, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and wrote, "Paid 25 years ago with a glass of milk and 2 cookies." Every time I tell that story, I get some beautiful emotion. Isn't that just gorgeous? That's what life is all about. And when I tell that story, then I meditate. Oh yeah, Jhana's, here we come. You see how that inspiration works? The mind gets this beautiful spiritual happiness, this uplift, and it's just so easy to meditate. So have this whole group of stories, inspiring stuff which you can remember, inspiring photos, inspiring books. Get these little quotes which you can just really uplift you. And when you sort of do want to meditate, you inspire yourself first of all. It gives you a quick boost of happiness. And then the meditation is easy. But if you start with 5 o'clock in the morning, what am I doing this for? If I tell my friends when I go back home, "What did you do on your holidays?" "Got up at 5 o'clock in the morning." Oh my goodness, even incarnate you don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But Jhana Grove you do. So what do I do? It's so easy to get depressed. Anyone can do that. But the wise people, the smart people, we just develop this beautiful perception of happiness, perception of goodness, perception of kindness. That's why that sometimes, that we do come here, and many people have already said they feel guilty about all sorts of stuff they've done in the past. And I mentioned already that we don't do guilt in Buddhism. No such thing as guilt. But nevertheless, people still feel guilty. Doesn't matter how many times I try and brainwash them, they still feel, and in fact, when they hear me say you shouldn't feel guilty, then they get double guilt. They feel guilty because they were Buddhist about being guilty. I shouldn't be guilty, so that's double guilt. So I always love telling the story of the young Anagarika. These are the people who trained to be monks over the road in Bodhinyana Monastery. And, Arnie is an Anagarika over there, but he's been well trained. When this young guy came, he was really a handful. And when he came to see me one morning, he was very upset. He really wanted to talk to me. He said, why? He said, I couldn't sleep last night. I felt so bad. I felt so guilty. I've broken one of the great precepts. And what have you done? Who have you killed? I said that. I said, no, I didn't kill anybody, but yesterday afternoon I was hungry and I went into the kitchen when no one was there. I made myself a sandwich and I ate it. I broke my precepts. I felt terrible and I couldn't sleep all night. I feel so guilty. It's amazing. A sandwich, for goodness sake, and you feel guilty. If you had have killed someone, even then it would be difficult, but I said, okay, never mind, very good. It depends who it was they killed. But anyway, so I said, look, okay, very good. Look, you've acknowledged it, you brought it up, you've confessed. Exactly, that's what you're supposed to do, to confess it. Okay, now you can go. But I said, I'll give you some strategies. You can always have, all these other stuff, cheese and chocolate and honey and fruit juice. It's amazing the sorts of stuff you can eat in the afternoon. You can make a whole meal of the stuff which is allowable, sort of. So I was told all these things. And they said, look, have more to eat at lunchtime so you don't feel so hungry. And if you really do feel peckish in the afternoon, have some honey or whatever. You can have the whole jar for all I care. And so that's, okay, you can go now. And that's when he said, aren't you going to punish me? I said, no, look, we don't do punishments. We don't do guilt in Buddhism. You can go now. And he said, that is not good enough. He said, if you don't punish me and give me a penance, I will do something, I'll do it again. He said, that's my character, I know. If you don't punish me, I will reoffend. So he really put me in a spot. This very, very difficult Anagarika who needed to be punished. So I had to find an appropriate punishment for him. I couldn't avoid it. And it had happened that morning, just as coincidence would have it. I was reading this book by Robert Hughes, a famous Australian author, called The Fatal Shore, about the story of the early convicts who came to Australia and how they were punished with this brutal whip called the Cat of Nine Tails. And because I'd just been reading it that morning and it was fresh in my mind, I told this Anagarika, this guy, he said, well, if you want a punishment, I've got a traditional Australian punishment for you. I will sentence you to 50 strokes of the cat. And this guy, his mouth went down and he started to quiver and all the colour drained from his face. He really thought that I was going to whip him. And he said, that's not what I wanted. I should have done things like this, but I did enjoy it, just seeing him go white. And then I told him, And this is the part I enjoyed the most. I said, in a Buddhist monastery, this is what 50 strokes of the cat means. At that time we had 2 cats. Find one of them and stroke it. 1, 2, 3. Learn some compassion. That is your penance. Because by stroking a cat 50 times, maybe you will learn compassion and be able to forgive yourself. So that is your punishment. And that worked. So if any of you have got any guilt trip here, we haven't got a cat, but Dania has got her rabbit. And we can always sentence you to 50 strokes of the rabbit. And yeah, I've done that on these retreats. I remember one Singapore girl, I sentenced her to 50 strokes of the rabbit because of some terrible thing she'd done. And so she got hold of that rabbit and started stroking it and cried her eyes out. It's a beautiful thing. So she let go of her pain. So if you don't want the rabbit, you can get the 50 strokes of the dog. There. Don't go 1, 2. No, 50 strokes. 50 strokes of the teddy bear. 1, 2. Whatever it is. Because that creates happiness and joy. And it's a happiness and joy which creates the peace which gives you the insights. So don't go on this path of meditation with lots and lots and lots of negativity, thinking I'm going to beat down all of my anger. I'm going to stop all of my sloth and torpor. Only 2 days, 2 days to go, 3 days to go, only 3 days to go. This is it, enlightenment or bust. No more sleeping, no more messing around. Stuff like that never works. Just the kindness, the gentleness, the happiness produces the peace. And you feel that. You get inspired. Inspiring by the story of the guy, the med student, who just got a glass of milk, 2 cookies, and never ever forgot it. It's a tiny act of kindness. And it came back to that woman with getting her life back at no cost. Hundreds of thousands of dollars wiped out. Beautiful. Those are the inspiring stories which I keep in my head, remind myself, and that creates this beautiful sense of joy and happiness. There's many ways you can create that joy and happiness. Please develop them, and then you'll find it so easy to meditate. So don't just go around and sit there, and here we go again, just watch the breath go in, watch the breath go out. No, develop the joy. Whenever you can, do things differently. Backwards breath meditation, the kangaroo hop, or just one-legged hopping meditation, if you like, whatever it is. And if you do things like that, you will find that the meditation starts to really take off. A lot of times on this retreat, I haven't told you the meaning of life. Again, I said I want you to find that out yourself. This is the insight in how to meditate. And you find the insight in how to meditate is also, because people ask towards this time of the retreat, how does that sort of reflect on my daily life? You can see that in your daily life it's tough sometimes, isn't it? You have to do lots and lots of things you hate doing. You have to go to meetings, you have to give presentations, you even have to go to work in the traffic. So what do? You develop the happy states of mind. If you're going to in the traffic, just get sort of what people do, like Ajahn Brahm's greatest jokes. Well, not the greatest, the worst jokes, or whatever. So, something to create a little bit of happiness for you when you're at work. You have that choice. You can remember all the goodness which happened during the day. You can remember all the kindness from your boss. The boss does be kind to you sometimes. So whatever you do, remember those sorts of things, and you'll find that you're creating a huge amount of happiness, which means that when you go to work, you never get depressed. And you get energy coming up. At the very, very least, if you really, really have a hard day at work or a hard day here, you've been meditating and nothing is working, you get one of those days when you get frustrated, bored, tired, you don't know what to do, try the 20 push-ups method. So you go to your bathroom Or if you're at work, the ladies' room, the men's room, and do 20 push-ups. But I don't mean just on your front with your arms. I mean stand with your legs apart in front of the mirror and put your fingers on the side of your mouth and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and don't stop until you finish the 20. Come on, 6, 7, 8. Straight away you're exercising the smiley muscles. And if it's like anything else, you exercise them and they get strong. You don't exercise them and they get weak. So you just get a horizontal mouth. You can't smile, even if, sometimes I tell these jokes, and some of the jokes really are funny. But sometimes people haven't smiled for years and they just can't do it. They're trying, you can see it twitching on the side there. But they do really need some exercise to get themselves to laugh. So, 20 push-ups is very, very good. And also, you'll be doing something silly. So you go to the bathroom, do something silly, 20 push-ups, and what that means is you get a bit of happiness. And straight away with that happiness, you get energy. And whatever you do it much, much, much better. So it happens also in this meditation retreat. Sometimes you feel like laughing. And look, if you feel like laughing after a really nice meditation, please laugh. Other people, I'm sure that if they're in jhana, they won't hear it anyway. If they are not in jhana, they need a bit of energy. so I'm sure it'll work either way. What that really means is you're developing some happiness, and other people are getting off on your happiness. When you laugh, other people start laughing too. See, it does work. That was a fake laugh, but it works. And it creates a lot of happiness inside of a person. And that happiness is energy, and that energy you can take into peace. So once you develop that happiness, that inspiration, that joy in life, and you're looking for it, you develop it, you keep focusing on it, because otherwise, if you do think, when you do think, what do you usually think about? It's all the negative stuff. That's a real problem. Thinking of the positive stuff, the happy stuff, it's very easy once you've filled the mind up with happiness, to let it go, and then to create some beautiful peace and stillness in meditation. And then eventually you get the real source of happiness, which is just the deep stillness in meditation. But another little trick of the trade is insights which show you how to meditate. I haven't said much about your posture when you meditate. Where you put your legs, where you put your bottom. Although I do notice as the retreat goes on, after 1 or 2 days, the number of cushions underneath people tend to increase and increase and increase. And by the end of the retreat, you're higher like on Mount Everest somewhere. So that doesn't matter as long as you're comfortable. I don't care how many cushions you have. But I also remember trying to sort of think of like a perfect cushion. Because look, any one of you who want business opportunities, because we want to raise funds for the nuns' monastery, and to raise funds you've got to make money first of all. So I give you all these incredible scams, business opportunities. So look, meditation cushions. Why just think just an ordinary meditation cushion, just like you have over there. How about having high-tech meditation cushions? So instead of having to get another one, you can actually press a button and it inflates if you need a bit more extra height, or it can deflate if you don't need it. And you can actually warm it up if it's a really cold day, or cool it down so it cools. Because I went to Korea and all the floors are have heating underneath it to keep things warm. And even the toilets, the toilet seats are heated. So you sit down, it's really, really comfortable. And, because it was so cold, when I went down and sat on those toilets, because it was nice and warm, you didn't want to get up again. So imagine if you get like a heated meditation cushion. It would encourage you to meditate longer and longer and longer, even if you were a bit dull and sort of a bit restless, but it felt nice. So you stay there a bit longer. So you can have a heated meditation cushion. You can adjustable just by a push of a button to raise it up or raise it down. You could even have one with a coffee maker installed inside it. So if you're very done, you press the button, you can get a cappuccino, latte, 2 sugars, 1 sugars, or just artificial sweetness. So you won't need to get up, when you feel really bored, get the coffee and have a cup of coffee without having to move from your meditation seat. You can have like a little, whatever it is, a little rod coming up with your personal air conditioner on top. So, you don't have to worry about other people with their air conditioner, wanting it cold, wanting it hot. You can have personal air conditioning, personal climate control. You could make a fortune. Just like this guy in Singapore, he was a designer. He just designed a few clothes for Princess Diana, apparently. And his latest scam was designer, it's a brilliant idea, designer Zimmer frames. Because, all these old people have these Zimmer frames, those walkers. And they're all the same. You get them from the pharmacy or from these other things. And most old people, they're pretty rich. So why not sort of get designer Zimmer frames? Like Gucci or Versace, really, really high-tech Zimmer frames. And he could make a fortune. So he was designing designer Zimmer frames for the wealthy, old people. They can't take it with them, but it's a status symbol when you get old. My other scam was to have, another business opportunity, was to have, because I went to Las Vegas recently, I was to have, that was in November. If you want to know what I did in Las Vegas, I'm sorry I can't tell you, because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. No, I was actually just giving talks, I was very well behaved, but to have drive-in meditation centers, like drive-through. So, drive through Buddhist temples. That probably worked much better. In a drive-through Buddhist temples, just like McDonald's, you get this other menu. You get chanting for marriages. That would be very popular. Chanting for health. Instructions on depression. A sermon on marriage problems. Bosses from hell. Holy water. And then you can press the button for holy water, and just a nozzle comes out and squirts you with holy water. So you make your order, and then the next booth is a monk there who can do the chanting for you, whichever one you ordered, or give you some advice on marriage or meditation, whatever you want. And then you go to the next booth and pay, and out you go. Would that be a good idea? Because people are very busy these days. They haven't got time to go to the Buddhist temple, and they need all this advice and chanting and holy water. So why not have a drive-through like they have in Las Vegas? Would that be a good idea? Anyway, it's a nice thing. But when you start thinking about that, you get happiness, because it's stupid, it's crazy. And what it really does, it creates a bit of joy and happiness in you, which means it's so easy to get peaceful. So remember, actually I never got to the posture bit. I started off with the posture. But the most important part of the posture, because people ask, should I cross my legs this way, should I cross my legs that way, where should you put your hands? Should you do it the Theravada posture with your thumbs slightly touching, or like the Vajrayana, one like this? How should you put your hands to get the best meditation? And the answer is, it does not matter. You can put your hands wherever you want, your legs wherever you want. Your back can be forward, the back can be back. I don't really care. The only part of your posture which is important, the only part which will have a great bearing on how peaceful and how deep you get in meditation, is your mouth. If it's turned down, that's bad meditation posture. Horizontal, still not good enough. Turned up at the side, that's good meditation posture. And I mean that because if you have a happy face, if you are smiling, the best Buddha statues have got a little smile on them, you'll find it's far easier to meditate. If you're scowling, straight away your mind is hearing that you're not happy, and it's very difficult to engage with a meditation object. It's very hard to get the joy which is important for stillness and for insight. So if any of you are having a difficult time in the meditation, or the meditation is sort of peaceful but it's not biting, take your attention away from your breath or the delightful breath or whatever else you're watching, even if it's a nimitta. Take your attention away from that nimitta and put it on your mouth. And turn the sides of the mouth up. If you can't make a smile, fake one. And as soon as you start smiling, you are telling your mind to be happy. And sometimes that's all it needs, that tiny bit of joy. And the breath does become delightful. The nimitta starts to glow. Everything starts to become energized just by a simple smile on your face. I've used that technique personally many times, and it works for me and it works for other people I've taught it to. So if you are concerned about your meditation or your posture, please pay attention to the position of your mouth. And sometimes I look at people at the end of the meditation when I get up and go out, and you can tell the one's having a good meditation. They've always got a natural smile on their face when they're meditating. I realize, yes, the meditation is getting peaceful. Because as you get peaceful, your mindfulness increases, you get these delightful perceptions, everything starts to look beautiful. This is the nature of the mind. Delight is important, it's a sign and a cause for stillness. And when there is that stillness in the mind and that happiness, you like meditating, you want to meditate more. You don't have to ask me, how often should I meditate? It's almost like, how can I listen other things so I can meditate more? Because I like meditating. I love meditating. It's joyful. It's one of the wonderful things you can do. Until, the meditation is something you literally look forward to, like watching a favorite movie, listening to your favorite songs on your iPod. It's just something you love doing because it does become joyful and happy. And not only does it become joyful and happy, that is the cause of the stillness, and from the stillness, that's where you really get the powerful insights. And one of the insights is the nature of happiness itself, where it comes from, and just the nature of just why we always tend to dwell in the negativity of life, why we can't keep on encouraging the happy part of life. If you could do that here, it leads to deep meditation, and it also means you'll start doing that in your daily life. Your daily life will get happier and happier and happier because you start generating, inclining towards the happy things of life. You start playing around in the office, doing stupid things. We all know Patch Adams, messing around in the hospitals, and people got much healthier. They recovered when they weren't supposed to recover just because they were happier. And you'll find in business, because you're a happy businessman, people will like to hang out with you and do more contracts with you. You're a nicer person to work with. Never underestimate the power of personal relationships. And who do you want to hang out with? Some depressed, misery, angry, control freak monster, or a happy person? So in all aspects of your life, you will find this works. It's an insight you get in meditation, which you take out there into the world, and it enhances your life. And those of you who want to just develop the meditation further, by deliberately recognizing the importance of that inner happiness and having the tools to develop it, you'll find that it will just squeeze out all of the negativity, the depression, the grumpiness, and you'll find the meditation becomes so deep simply because you're a happy person. So don't just say, I'm going to watch the breath at all costs. Why is it difficult? Why is it easy? If you're negative, it's always difficult. If you have a lot of happiness and energy, inspiration, joy, it's always easy. So if you've enjoyed this talk this morning, try and meditate, and you find it's very easy. Inspire yourself, and that gives the energy of the mind to be able to be still, and then get deep insight. So that's the talk this morning on developing happiness and energy in your meditation and in life. Sadhu, sadhu. Never do it the same. Okay, very good. So have a wonderful morning, and we'll have a few interviews. And if anybody again is feeling a bit down, we still have, what's the name of the dog? Meta dog. Okay, Meta the dog, and Daryl the teddy bear. It is Daryl, that's his name. So if anyone wants to borrow Daryl the teddy bear for this morning, to sort of when you meditate, to meditate with Daryl. Or if you want to do walking meditation, do walking meditation, take it for walkies. Okay, and have a beautiful morning.